heavy travel. And this is one of probably my biggest key tips when listening to your body. If you're wondering, should I just get back into my programming or should I just try something different? Think about what you've been doing in the days prior to where you are right now to help guide that decision. So I've been flying, I've been in a seated position, so I've become what's a little bit called kyphotic. So seated, and so I've been seated for a long time, and my hip flexors are all bound up. So I'm hunched over, and my legs are up where they shouldn't be. So I want to do a lot of things that are going to open me up. So a lot of big open body, upper body movements, as well as lower body mobility, stretching. So what I'll show you is a few of my favorite go-to foam rolling techniques, ways to hit the lower body, the quads, the hip flexors, and then some of my favorite, I guess you could call them yoga movements, kind of flow movements to help open up your chest cavity, get some shoulder mobility in, and at the same time, work those hips, those legs to open up your gait a little bit. So guys, in the last clip you saw that I was doing kind of my fitness center mobility workout routine. I've been spending a lot of time traveling and just in a seated position, hunched over, and so I needed to just do something that's gonna loosen me up. I wanted to work out, but my body was like, So to kind of follow up with that, I'm back here in the office. I'm here with my boy, Dr. Justin Bryant. You guys remember seeing him in the Ape Athletics video, doing some kind of actual treatment, deep tissue myofascial release. But today he's gonna walk me through some stuff that I should be doing more of, and I think a lot of you could also be doing more of at the job site. If you're a 9-to-5-er, if you're seated at a desk, some things that kind of just get you up and get you out of that just, like, would you call it a question mark? Like you're just like a Quasimodo. If you're just like, if you're like that at the job site, don't, okay? All right, do these things. So, I'm in the fitness world, right? But for a few more weeks, I'm like this all the time. So this is my life. Why is this wrong?
So let's talk about some of the stuff that can happen when you're sitting in a chair a lot. First thing that's gonna happen is that your buddy, Chase Chewning, sitting on those nice gluteus muscles on the back of his hip.
You see these glutes lately?
Yep. Not that good, but they're pretty good. What happens is, as you sit on those glute muscles for 6-8 hours, I think the typical American now is spending 8 to 10 hours a day sitting.
I'd say at least, yeah.
What happens is all those glute muscles essentially get smashed together because we're sitting on them, right? You smash all those tissues together, all of a sudden they're not gliding very well. They can't do their job very well. If your glutes aren't firing the way they should, you can't control your hips, you can't control your low back, so you're probably a horrible dancer, Chase. To be honest.
I'm white, so yeah.
No. Yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna show you how to stretch those tissues specifically from your chair right here. So
no extra equipment, I can just do this stuff.
You can just do this right here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take one leg, you're gonna put one foot on top of this knee here. Now, yeah. So right here you start to kind of torque that tissue up. We're starting to stretch that tissue in the back of the hip. Now I'm gonna show you the right way to do it, and then I'm gonna have Chase do it the wrong way, okay?
Which is probably what I do.
Probably.
Irregardlessly.
Chase is nice and tall. Think of your spine being nice and tall. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna hinge at your hips forward. That just basically means you don't have to do anything with your hands. Nice and tall.
All right.
We're just gonna bend forward our hips. We're gonna stay nice and tall, almost like you're leading with your chest, okay? And as you come forward, you're gonna feel that awesome stretch here. You feeling that stretch in the back of the hip?
It's a deep burn.
I did over 1,000.
So deep. And this is really good for me because you guys know I've jacked up hips. So I always have to do extra hip mobility.
Now, how long you should do it, I want you to set a timer for 2 minutes on your phone.
2 minutes?
You're gonna look for spots that are spicy, spots that aren't spicy. You don't have to do just a static hold, but just get in there and feel it, okay? Then you would do the same exact thing on the opposite side, right? Let's do the wrong thing to do on this side, okay? So instead of staying nice and tall, what I want you to do is round forward, curve your back, and be like, look at how good I am at this stretch. This not really doing a good job of stretching right now. Do you feel a difference when you do that? Like,
yeah, it's the Quasimodo.
Yeah, so you notice how far you can get down there and not feel that same amount of stretch. Now come back up, nice and tall with that spine, hinge at your hips, lead forward with your chest.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so notice that stretch grabs him way quicker than when he just breaks as that midline stabilization, so we don't want that.
That's a spicy meatball.
So that's one great way to get at those tissues that we're sitting on all day and just smash them together, okay?
Kleenex doesn't have to be name brand. You get store brand tissues, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Yeah. He's not amused. All right, so that's like a good chair stretch. If I want to get up out of my chair, like, so I was flying a lot and I'm like hunched over, I was in the middle seat, very uncomfortable. So what can I do to like get me out of this position?
Out of this hunch forward
Yeah,
position.
like if I'm rounded over, if I'm at my desk, I'm traveling a lot, like what do I do to?
So there's a few things that you can do to kind of open up here, right? We work at laptops a lot, so our shoulders are always here. We're internally rotated. Everything's, I call this douchebag shoulders.
Which is great for me because everyone thinks I'm a douchebag. So
that is true. I mean, that's a proven fact.
it's science. It's very much so.
When everybody in the gym just does this all day long and they're pressing, and these get short and tight, it pulls your shoulder forward like this. Or if we're always here typing on our keyboard and pulled forward like this, what happens is when you roll that shoulder forward, you start to get impingement in your shoulder, right? You've heard of shoulder impingement. When you roll this shoulder forward, your rotator cuff muscles can't activate properly, and now they're inactive. So it's gonna cause a lot of shoulder issues, right? But what can we do to open up out of this? There's a few things that you can do pretty easy. One thing Chase can do, just in the seat alone, he can do this, is what he's gonna do is he's gonna take his hands, he's gonna pretend like he's plugging those fingers up into the ceiling. He's really gonna push those guys up here, and then he's gonna stretch to the left, so you're gonna take these fingers and you're gonna go, that is your left jab.
My left, your right.
I was thinking the other one, yeah.
One of the cues that I tell people when I'm walking through this stretch is just imagine, like, it's one thing just imagine stretching up, but also imagine you're doing like a shoulder shrug at the same time. That'll really, you'll go from like this, the stretch of your arms, to like engaging your traps to really bring it up next level. And the same thing on the other side.
Mm-hmm. And then you go to the other side. Boom. So this is what's called like a micro break. So you want to do something like this, 10 repetitions every hour that you're sitting at your desk. It just take a break, a little tiny break. That's why it's called micro break. Work this thoracic spine extension and lateral flexion. Another thing you do, this is something that Chase and I love to do. Now, not everybody will have something like this. It doesn't have to be a dowel. It can be anything, right?
At the gym, you'll see PVC pipes. A lot of gyms will have them. Perfect. Same modification.
What you're going to do is you're going to grab that PVC pipe. And what you're going to do is nice and slowly, you're going to take that guy all the way around, nice and slow. I'd be careful if you have any history of shoulder dislocations to do this one. But other than that, most of us are pretty good. And it's really tight there. Woo!
Yeah.
You get here? Come on back. Nice and slow. Now, I have to grab pretty wide because I'm pretty tight. And some of you may notice that you can grab here closer. You're gonna have to find your own kind of spot where you can get back there and open up. So essentially opening up all this, okay?
Start wide and then go narrow. The more narrow you get, it's gonna be a little more intense and a little bit more spicy.
Now, one other thing, if you're lucky enough to have an actual office with a wall, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your back up against the wall.
Do I need my butt and my back, or like just
what I want you to do is pull your feet away from the wall a little bit. That way you can push your low back flat against the wall.
Yeah, there we go.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Now his mid back is against the wall and his head's against the wall too. So we'll notice a lot of people will go here. You gotta make sure you're in a good position. Perfect, like
This
that.
and no.
Yep. So we're here. Some of you may be so tight that you find it even hard to get into this position. It's okay, work on it, it'll get better. Now what you're gonna do, this is called wall angels. Are you pitting out?
Bro, what?
Okay, sorry.
Bro.
What he's gonna do now is this is why I had him do it, because I'm pitting out too, so I don't wanna do it. Take his hands, he's gonna go straight up in the air.
Now my arms should stay on the wall the whole time.
Arms should stay on the wall. We shouldn't feel your low back lift up off the wall as you do this. You're gonna stay here, okay?
So keep the stomach tight.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is tight. If you feel that rib cage start to flare out, you're losing that midline stabilization. We don't want that. Now when you come down, I want you to think of squeezing those shoulder blades together in the middle of the back, bringing these elbows down, boom.
Below shoulder line?
Come back up, yeah.
So when I do this, I can kind of feel, but you know with my history, I kind of have some left side tightness anyway. Like when I'm going up, it's more difficult for me to keep my left arm flat the whole way up and the whole way down. So like if you feel that if someone's doing this and they feel that inconsistency, what does that mean?
It means that you probably have some sort of dysfunction on that side, right? Could be a mobility issue, could be having issues with the shoulder joint, could be having issues with the thoracic spine, possibly the lats.
Which is for me, my lats, a little bit of my shoulder definitely are, I'd say mostly my lats. I always have a really, really tight left side. It's definitely my limiting factor in doing overhead movements and just overall range of motion mobility. One other area I want to highlight is Djibouti. One of my secrets and ways that I just always try to stay mobile and try to just introduce activity and range of motion, stability, training, whatever, all throughout the day is like when I'm in the elevator, like I'm doing wall angels, which people have definitely caught me a few times. I look like the weirdo in the elevator. Or I'll even drop down into like a squat. So I'll just get really, really low in the elevator because we live on the 10th floor. So I got probably close to 20, 30 seconds. I can just open up my hips, drop down. One of the other things I do pretty much anytime I'm just standing around, again, in the elevator, is I will do just these.
Where's your rope, Ignacio?
It was stinky, but these are my recreation clothes.
So why do I want to pucker up, Dr. J? What does this do, and how can it help me from being out of there?
So, like we talked about earlier, is that we do a lot of sitting nowadays, which smashes all these glute muscles together. They can't contract as well. The other problem is that it makes our hip flexors really tight. These muscles on the front of our hips, because we're always locked in here at 90 degrees, so they shorten up. Well, if our hip flexors are tight, our hips can't even get back into extension. If our hips can't even get there, because this is so tight, you can't even activate your glutes. All of a sudden, you're not controlling your lumbopelvic very well. Don't kick stuff in my office, please.
My bad, dude.
Okay. We should have done this in your office, and marks all over the walls.
Nah, that's okay. We'll just screw up your office.
So, glute activation is like an epidemic right now.
Yeah.
Everybody has what I call glute amnesia.
Yeah.
Glutes are not firing, and it causes knee issues, it causes hip issues, it causes low back issues.
You mean that's not when people forget they have a glute?
I mean,
Glute amnesia? Did you just forget about your butt?
what?
Oh. Science, go back
So,
to that.
so what Chase is saying is that if you just put your feet underneath your hips, toes are pointing straight forward, okay? Core is tight, so his rib cage is gonna be down. Yeah, boom. There we go.
Good?
Yep. And then what he's gonna do, he's gonna squeeze his glutes as hard as he can for maybe 5 seconds. Boom. And relax.
So again, kind of like what I'm feeling in this is my left side again. So when I contract, I can feel it's much easier and I get a more intense contraction on my right buttock versus my left. I actually have to think and contract more, and I don't even think I get the same level. So like, if I'm feeling that imbalance, if someone's doing this and they feel that imbalance, what could that mean?
It could mean that the glutes are tight, right? Because if those glutes get tight, they can't contract very well because all that tissue is gnarled up.
Yeah.
You get a lacrosse ball in there or a foam roller in there, 4 or 5 minutes work through that glute, get up, re-squeeze again. I promise you, you're gonna feel a difference in how well that muscle is contracting. It could also mean that the glute is just weak and inhibited. So you may be overusing your hamstrings to act as your glute muscle, and that happens very commonly. So all of a sudden people start getting hamstring strains. It's because their glutes aren't firing as well. So it could be just an issue where the glute isn't activating the way it should, or it could be an issue that the glute is tight. It could be a combo of both.
And above everything else, like we're walking you through some steps to do things in your chair, do things to get up out of your chair, up against the wall when you're in an elevator, being that weird, creepy guy, just like squeezing your butt as you go down the elevator. But I mean, another big thing is just to stand up. So one of my favorite things that has helped me as of late, because my schedule has just been insane, and I just get, is getting something that's gonna help remind you. So for me, I use an Apple Watch. It has notifications built in. About every hour, I think it'll say, hey, time to stand up, time to move. Or if you have been on a streak lately of steps or activity, it will let you know if you're gonna lose that streak. You can do simple things like set a calendar reminder, set an alarm every 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever. Just stack the conditions in your favor so that you don't just get so caught up and you forget about taking care of yourself. So above everything else, if you don't wanna be the person doing stretches in your cubicle, in your office or whatever, just stand up. Just move, get up, take a walk to the other side of the office, come back. But use these things to help you get there if you can't remember on your own. So that is a wrap. Hope you guys enjoyed the fitness side. Kind of walked you through, showed you my mobility routine. I didn't include everything just because the gym got really crowded. But this guy's an amazing resource. I highly recommend you guys check out. I can mention Arosti, right? Yeah. I'll leave the Arosti information, that's AIROSTI, down below. They're nationwide?
Yeah. Nationwide, but like,
nationwide, but not in every
states.
state.
Not every state, but we're nationwide.
He helps me through a lot of injuries and just pain management, acute and chronic stuff, just getting range of motion back. Like he cured, basically, maximized both elbow tendonitis. We would get really bad elbow tendonitis getting up under the bar from squatting, oddly enough. And that's been over a year and good to go, yeah. So Arosti does amazing things. They put out a lot of great content, whether it's just mobility information, workouts, or actually coming in to see them for a session. So thank you guys very much. That's a wrap for this Vlogmas. I'll see you in the next video.